Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as well. The bell icon works too. You can get notified whenever a new episode drops, usually on Mondays. But it is season 5 of the Midtown Madness Podcast. I cannot believe people have been listening to us this long, Pete. But you guys are all amazing. And you know who else is amazing, Pete? It's Two Men in a Garden Salsa, because they are local. They don't just do salsa either. They have their kitchen hub where they partner with other entrepreneurial, local entrepreneurs in the food industry and help them get started by leasing out space in their kitchen hub. It's amazing. I just love that their commitment to the city of St. Louis, the surrounding areas, but most importantly, their salsa tastes great. It really is that simple. It's local. It tastes amazing. They've got all the flavors to suit your individual salsa preferences. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store or online at twomeninthegarden.com, which, if you're particular about your salsa, that's where you want to go. Follow them on social media at 2Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, I actually ran into Joel from 2 Men in a Garden at the Bronze Boot doubleheader. And he was, of course, wearing his 2 Men in a Garden shirt and sitting in the section closest to the 2 Men in a Garden stand where they offer salsa.
Keeping an eye on the operation, I guess.
Yes, he was. This week, man, I think people are going to want to stay tuned to the men's soccer portion of this one with the Bronze Boot. There's a lot to talk about on and off the field, I think, especially with the way the game was put on. Both things concerning the Billiken Athletic Department and St. Louis City. I think a couple misses here, and I'm going to get into them later. Pete and I will get into them later on in the show. But first, I think we really need to highlight something really positive, something St. Louis, not just Billiken, because she's a Billiken. Don't get me wrong. Everyone who comes through SIUE is a Billiken. However, she did not play sports at SIUE. She did not play a Billiken Athletics sport. But she did silver. She medaled. She got a silver medal in wheelchair rugby. We had her on the show, Pete. It's Sarah Adam. What a tournament.
What a tournament indeed, Zach. And yes, they didn't get the gold, right? Japan was flawless in the tournament. They didn't lose a single match
They beat the US twice.
Beat the U.S. twice. This one was it was close, 48-41. They were great, right? Like no shame in losing to what appeared to be really the best team in the world right now. But Zach, the funny thing was coming into the Paralympics and hearing all the stories about her through SLU and elsewhere, you thought like, wow, what an achievement. First woman to make the U.S. team. Just being on the team.
She wouldn't tell you that.
No,
that is the funny thing too, because in all the interviews and all the packages on TV, the media packages, the highlight packages, it was always the first woman. But when we spoke with her, we didn't get the sense that she really, felt she was anything more than a wheelchair rugby player.
No, but the extra layer to that, Zach, is like not only is all of that true, it's that she's one of the best players out there. Like she's really, really good. And I didn't appreciate that necessarily until actually watching the games and being like, oh, they would have been stupid not to have her on the team.
Yes.
Like this wasn't like the 11th or 12th person on the team. I mean, she was the second leading scorer for the US throughout the tournament. And it was only Chuck Aoki who's kind of their, like you said before in a previous show, kind of their star, right? Their unquestioned number one. And she and him both had 14 tries apiece in the final against Japan. So she wasn't just on the team and breaking barriers and medaling and all of those kind of things. She was really a key piece of what they do. and
Yeah,
really fun to watch.
it was maddening at times, right? Because you felt like you don't understand what's going on. I'm sure there's way more deep into the game that you can go, but again, you watch and you're like, that guy scored really easily.
Hmm.
Like, what happened there? That keeps happening, and but you'll learn that it's a very close game. It kind of goes back and forth,
Right.
pretty much until the end, and then one team eventually kind of pulls away, especially at the top level of the competition. So the medal rounds,
Hmm.
that was really more the case. The one thing I found interesting was how she impacted the team, because there were times where they were highlighting her and talked about how much of an asset her abilities were, kind of as a woman, even though kind of she didn't want to get into it. It was interesting because you have kind of, she talked a little bit about the classification, and you can only
Hmm.
have so much number on the floor at once. So like pretend it's like 10. 10 is the most you can have. So
Right.
she, as a woman playing on the field, they can have an extra half point. So she also allows, I think it's Fredette, to be on the court at the same time,
Right.
where he would not be able to be on the court if she was not on the court as well.
Right.
So it's wild. It was a lot of fun to watch. I wish it was in the the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
Would have made it a lot easier to keep up with.
Hmm.
But yeah, congratulations, Sarah Adam. I think you made, I know you made St. Louis University and the community proud. And they even, of course, they highlighted the watch party at
Yeah.
SLU.
Yeah, on the broadcast. That was so cool to see. I'm like at the time I was doing something in my kitchen. I had it up on my phone, and then like I was like, whoa, wait, like it had the little box in the corner of the watch party, St. Louis University. So seeing us there in the gold medal game, especially, it was just incredible to see the whole experience. We gotta see if she's willing to come back on the show and talk about it, just because
Absolutely.
now I feel so much more educated about all of it. And
Yeah.
honestly, watching the Paralympics in general, like every event, I felt like I was learning so much. Like when you're watching sprinters run with guides, or you're watching games played in places with total silence, right? And
Yes, that
and just
is
like in different interpretations of sport in general.
the
I
sitting
really got a lot out
volleyball,
of it.
by the way, is crazy.
Sitting volleyball was fascinating.
It's
Really
it's
cool.
it really, like, it brings you back to that like childhood of like just playing around in the house,
Yes.
like
I
just
100%. I had that exact thought because my brother and I invented a game in our living room called hand hockey, and we had
yeah.
to stay on our knees and like we used the landing of the steps as the goal and stuff
Mm.
like that. And I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. It just takes you back to, the
Or even
basement
or
more.
even just keeping a balloon up.
Right,
Like
right.
just tapping a balloon around the room with people. Like that's really just, I don't know, something just really comforting about watching that game for some reason. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
when I was watching the wheelchair rugby, I don't know if were you getting the optical illusion effect with like the lines, and then they had the cone, and it just tripped me out. Like I couldn't tell like if the cone ever moved, or like how, because like they are really ramming into each other. Like I was surprised at how often they didn't hit those cones.
It is pretty crazy. I don't know if it necessarily tripped me up, but you definitely, it takes some getting used to,
Yes.
right? Especially like you say, like some of those tries look really easy, but it's punctuated by this really like hardcore collisions out there.
Yes.
Watching people like legitimately fall, like tip over is wild. You're never ready for it.
You get, and I thought they had kind of a pit crew that
Right.
you don't think about that. We did
Hmm.
talk a lot about the equipment, but like, I mean, the hell that those, wheels go through.
Oh man.
So yeah, again, congratulations. It was so much fun to follow, so much fun to cover too and talk about. So we had to include it in this episode. I hope that Billiken basketball or Billiken soccer or both make sure to honor her at halftime the rest of this season. So I really hope they take the time to do that because I think
Yeah.
it's
She needs a standing ovation
yes,
from a
absolutely,
big SLU crowd.
absolutely. Speaking of SLU crowds and men's basketball, let's get right into things. This one happened kind of quick. We had heard that the staff was super excited about this kid. They really wanted to lock him down. But yeah, they did. I mean, it kind of, I don't think we're used to things coming together this quickly.
Really quickly, Zach, and you're right. They got their guy. He's a 2025, 6'11", 200-pound center out of Owasso, Oklahoma, and his name's Jax Kerr. If you listen to us every week, you would have remembered not too long ago when he got the initial offer from SLU, and we kind of went through him. Team Trey Young is his AAU team, which is an Adidas circuit team. But yeah, he visited early this past week and made his commitment public on Thursday after he got back home to Oklahoma. And Zach, everything that we're seeing and hearing about him, I think he's just going to be a really nice fit in this system and at SLU.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought, again, I haven't gotten to the video yet, but from what
Mhm.
it sounds like with how much the staff seemed to be really zeroing in on him and really kind of wanting that commitment, that early commitment, that to me tells me that he's a guy that they are tabbing to be some sort of replication of Robbie Avila.
Yeah, and I've kind of been thinking that about the young bigs we already have.
Yeah.
And then in addition to anyone else we're bringing in, it's like who is going to be inheriting that role over time, right? Because we do have Robbie for 2 seasons, but we're going to have to bring up other guys into that role. I know in an ideal world, like Shirts had back in Division 2, he would have guys mostly 4 or 5 years, right? And he could really bring them up into their roles gradually. And he doesn't necessarily have that now, but it's not necessarily surprising to me that the successor to that role seems to be coming from the high school or prep ranks and not the transfer ranks necessarily. You can't bring in a junior or senior expecting him to slide right into what Robbie does. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as we watch the development of the guys on our roster who are all 6'10" to 7 feet right now. But if you want to get a better look at him, there is like a 16-minute YouTube video out there. Jax Kerr 2024 AAU highlights, Team Trey Young 17U 3SSB is the title of it. If you just Google search Jax Kerr alone, JAXKERR, and hit the videos tab. Right now, it's the third one down in my search results anyway. But a lot of positive things said about him since the commitment. Max Feldman, who's online basketball writer, whatever, he called him a skilled 5-man, fresh off a breakout spring and summer, put up 10 points per game, 43% on 3-point shooting, by the way, with over 3 3-point attempts a game in AAU, 5 rebounds a game, about a block and a half per game with Team Trey Young. Earl Austin Jr., we always like to get Earl's seal of approval. He said, I watched Jax at the Midwest Showcase in Kansas City in June. Very skilled big. To quote ourselves from before, kind of what we said after his offer, that he's a long, lean, skilled stretch big who scores on 3 levels. He's an effective post player, soft touch around the rim, good passer, high level shot blocker. He runs the floor well and has impressive hands, footwork, and overall coordination. And that really wasn't even touching on his 3-point shooting. And if you're in AAU getting up over 3 shots a game and over 40%, that's good for a guard, let alone somebody who's 6'11". So that inside out game is really something that's going to, I think, translate into our system and the collegiate level in general. So really excited about him. If somebody's committed, they've been through the whole Shirts ringer on his support system, his character, his classroom work ethic, all that kind of stuff. So I feel really good about this one, Zach.
Yeah, and he also he looks like Josh Hartnett, by the way. He gives off Josh Hartnett vibes. Like
He,
Hollywood Homicide, Pearl Harbor, Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, he's kind of got the narrow eyes. He's got a little bit of a brooding look to him.
Yeah. The
Depending on what hair he's gone with, what image you found. I can see that a little bit.
yeah, that just matted down hair look that was
Right.
way too popular back then.
Yeah, and he's kind of got the jawline,
Yeah.
the yeah, right. So
Uh,
anyway.
uh, we got some campus visits. Are you surprised at how kind of hard that Shirts and Co. are hitting the high school recruiting trail right now?
Well, it is visit season,
Right.
not so not
I
necessarily.
meant more or less like I meant high
Oh, how
school
much they're get
compare like how much they're
yeah.
um like high school versus transfer. Obviously, this is not transfer season, right? But they are kind of looking at a large number of high schoolers, which would indicate that they're kind of putting more stock into recruiting high school.
Yeah, that's sorry, I got a little distracted here. There is a gigantic spider crawling across my floor right now.
I really hope
Uh
it's not venomous because then I can't upload this to YouTube.
yeah, and hopefully this thing's gone by the time you get here in a few
Oh
minutes.
yeah, that's right. Oh gosh. Oh no. I
Anyway,
forgot that little fact.
yeah, so I'm not entirely surprised. Number one, it's just the season, and number two, a friend of mine reminded me of this week when I said I thought I was a little surprised to hear that Shirt said he would take 3 or 4 early commitments, right? Because you start doing the math and you go, well, okay, Swope, Johnson, Jimerson, those are the only guys on paper. We always have transfers or whatever, but those are the only 3 guys on paper who have to move on. And the fact that he would take 3 to 4 early commitments means he's, I guess, counting on transfers and not doing much in the spring. But he reminded me that rosters are going from 13 scholarship players to 15 next year, right? So
Oh
they're
boy.
like the women did already a year or two ago. Now the NCAA is allowing 15 scholarships on the men's side. So 3 or 4 early commitments actually makes sense when you think about that. And it's not just a strategy of we're only recruiting. Got the spider, by the way.
Nice.
We're only recruiting high school players or whatever. That's only going to be part of the strategy here. So that's just something to keep in mind if the number is throwing anyone else off like it did for me until I was reminded of that very important point.
It'll be
So
interesting to see how it affects the lower divisions going forward.
it does, but it's almost like it'll be canceled out if like some of the proposals that we're hearing, right, to add that 5th year of eligibility, for example,
God, I didn't want to talk about that. I
you
don't want
know,
it to be
so
real.
so it's almost like to me those go hand in hand, and that your class sizes will end up being more or less the same.
Yeah.
It's that all remains to be seen, but yeah, I guess at some point it would affect lower divisions. But I do like the idea of guys who might not have gotten an offer or gotten on a roster before,
Yeah.
kind of like quietly getting their chance over the long haul. We'll see. We'll see how it works out.
Let's talk about some of those high schoolers who visited campus.
Yeah, and I want to go through the 2025 kids first because we did have a 2026 visitor this week, a name that I didn't know yet. But the first one we were supposed to have was Jordan Tillery. He was supposed to be here from Tuesday to Thursday, but I'm not sure if he actually visited because that was the time frame that Kerr wound up having. And then Cameron Hudson was the next to visit on Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, he posted publicly about it on Instagram and Twitter. He's a 6'5" shooting guard from East Lansing High School in Michigan. I remember talking about him back when we offered because I was we both kind of said Michigan's not a place that we've recruited very heavily over the years. So he's actually the son of Andre Hudson, as was pointed out by Joel on Discord. Andre Hudson, who played with those Michigan State teams in the late 90s and early 2000s. So he was on that 2000 national championship team with like Mateen Cleaves and Morris Peterson and those guys. So that's his dad. But anyway, he was in Friday and Saturday. And then Isaiah Sealy is going to be in on the 12th to 14th. He's a big time player out of Springdale, Arkansas. And the staff's really making a big push for him. It's not going to be easy. We do have SEC competition for him. but he's this like a 6'7" kid who wants to play point guard in college. And they like big long guards, and he's got like, that would be a very big, a high level recruit for us. It would probably, I guess, be the highest since Cartier Gordon, um, technically higher rated than either French or Goodwin coming out of high school. So very, very much one to look forward to this week. So throw some love his way, I guess, if you see him on campus or anything like
Don't
that.
tweet at Croots though.
Don't tweet at him, but give him a nice hello or something if you're the kind of person who's on campus and is
The
so
nice head
inclined.
nod.
Yeah, yeah, some kind of acknowledgement. I imagine SEC fans will not show such restraint,
No,
Zach,
they
in
will
terms
not.
of
Yeah, I think you can bank on that.
yeah, but I
That's
do
an
want to.
MB 5-star lock.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I do want to get to the 2026 visitor as well. His name's Colin Rice, and he visited this past week and received an offer on Friday the 6th. He is a 6'8", 195-pound small forward from Northwest High School in Waukee, Iowa. He plays his AAU ball for Martin Brothers, which is an Under Armour program. I would say he's a true three-level scorer. He loves to draw defenders out past the perimeter, which he can get away with because he's such a good shooter and has such range. But then he'll break them down off the dribble and score at the rim, or he'll dish to a teammate on the way. He's got a really long, slender frame. He's a smart player. So he's really effective at both ends. Like as a defender, he's got that kind of mismatch ability, and knows how to kind of create a little bit of chaos on the defensive end. I like the idea of him in a Shirts offense, just kind of what I've watched on video of him so far. He does have offers from Drake, Northern Iowa, Murray State, and North Dakota State. Murray State was actually the most recent, and all of those offers are from this summer, so pretty recent, as his stock is just kind of really taking off. He plays high school ball, by the way, with another guy who has an offer from Drake. It's his only D1 offer at this point. And then two other kids on his high school team are the sons of Ben McCullum, who's the head coach at Drake. So it's a pretty
Huh.
interesting team, and Drake definitely has the inside track on that high school program, I have to imagine. Although McCullum's older son at this point, who's a senior, looks like he's got lower division offers for now. Um, so that would be, I guess, the main competition for Rice. So he's an interesting one to keep an eye on, though. I do like him, and it was interesting. I did not necessarily expect them to have rising juniors on campus. I thought it was going to be all seniors. When they said we've got 10, as we talked about last week, we've got 10 visitors coming up in the next 6 weeks. Didn't think there were going to be juniors, but I don't know why I didn't think that. I guess it does make sense.
Yeah, I think again, I don't know anything about the recruiting. Like that's the funny thing is you just brain dump, and it's way more information than I give an entire episode. So I know as me personally, I appreciate it. So yeah. They also left campus. The staff did.
They did, which is another thing, Zach, that I did not necessarily know was coming. But they went out to see some priority 2025 recruits this week. Isaiah Sealy, who we already mentioned, Springdale High School in Arkansas. They went and got a little in-person visit with him on his turf before they bring him up to St. Louis next week, which is smart. Adriel Nyorha from Winston-Salem Christian School. We've talked about him before. And he seems like he's definitely a priority for this class. Luke Lachkowski at St. Mark's down in Texas, he just took an official visit over the weekend to Harvard, so they saw him before he went out to that. And then Jaden Vance at Utah Prep. I don't know if they've seen him yet or if they're going this week, but that's one that earlier this week somebody said that was in the works. So you're kind of seeing the names, between those four, between Jax Kerr, we just got a commitment out of. You kind of see the guys they're zeroing in on. And Zach, if we're talking 3 or 4 early commitments out of these guys, and we were to wind up with like, in addition to Kerr, say we get Sealy and Vance or something like that. I mean, that's a really, really strong core of an incoming class, and a real statement, I think, for this program and this staff. That would be just incredible. I think Sealy is the one that would just put it at the next level.
Um, Two former SLU recruits. Really, they're more like Travis Ford offers, but they are off the table. They have committed.
They are Trey Williams from Vashon, committed to Missouri State on Sunday, the 8th. He got an offer from Ford, but Schertz's staff actually did refresh the offer. He just never really emerged as one of those priority types that we've been talking about, where you really see them working hard for him. And then Vincent Chaudhry was the other to George Washington. I think he was originally a Ford offer, but there were members of our staff like kind of following him on Twitter and stuff like that. So I didn't know if we were still going to be involved there or not, but either way, he's off the board to an A10 opponent. His only other official visit, I think, was to Loyola Chicago. So he seemed destined for this league one way or another.
I feel like Trey Williams. There's like a million Trey Williams in the world. It's like the new John Smith.
It kind of is. In basketball, there are a lot of guys. Trey is a very common first name. Williams, very, very common last name. And if you want to make it even more confusing, it seems like the most common first names now are Jaden and Jalen. No offense to any Jadens or Jalen's who might be
Yeah.
listening, who might be in our program currently or anything like that. They have just, for whatever reason, in basketball, become like the first names. We actually, I think, were recruiting multiple guys named Jalen Williams at one point in Ford's tenure, or I think we had offered one, and then there was another in the same class who was like another top 150 player. It made for some confusing times, but yeah, you're right. Trey Williams, it's not the name that stands out necessarily. He's a really nice player though. So I think he's going to be a nice fit down at Missouri State. Don't know about the coach down there, but we'll see.
Yeah. Um, A10 regular season schedule. This seems to be a spot where the Atlantic 10 has dropped the ball, not the schedule.
It's incredible, Zach, because I was all excited, right? I was looking at the
Don't get
previous
too
years,
excited.
and it was the Wednesday after Labor Day last year. It was the Wednesday after Labor Day the year before. So I'm thinking like, all right, this is just when we release it. So Wednesday comes and goes, Thursday comes and goes. Friday morning, I'm like not hearing anything about it. And wondering like what's going on, what's taking so long. And then that day I see messages from two different people saying like, yeah, don't get your hopes up. It's going to be a while. So I don't want to, smoke out any sources or anything like that, but everywhere from private messages to our Twitter replies were implying that it's going to be a little bit longer, as in weeks, not days. So
Yeah,
that's frustrating.
it is. And I think the A10, I think, we had it pointed out to us that this isn't necessarily an A10 centric like this is like there are leagues all over the country, including professional ones, that don't make it a priority to get the schedule together so that their teams can, plan travel.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just think it's well. My point is, I think it's easy for these leagues because it's their final task, right? It's a final task of an overarching project, so they don't have anything waiting on this to finish.
Mhm.
There's not that it doesn't hamstring them at all. It only serves to hamstring people outside of their organization. So like there's no urgency because nobody is there, no bosses are telling them to hurry the hurry up.
Mhm.
You only have the external schools and you can just tell them to sit on it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it is frustrating because, I like as much lead time as possible on
Yeah.
things, right? Like if I'm going to get down to Richmond to see my brother, I like to be able to tell him like, hey, what weekend it is, because in about 3 weeks he's going to be a first time parent. And it just as a parent, like it just helps me to have as much time as possible to
Yeah.
put it on my calendar around school and activity schedules and travel schedules and all that and work and all that kind of stuff. So I like it as soon as possible. I guess I'm greedy that way. I think in the A10 though, I don't know how much pressure they have, right? Because most of the teams in this league, their facilities are only used for this.
Yeah. I mean, there's no pressure except like the travel, honestly,
Yeah.
which is huge still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've all got to get out in front of that, but it is kind of amazing to me that there just doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency at all. And even though I know what you're saying about like their internal pressure and just not having it there, it's still like this is their flagship sport. They're not a football conference. Like they got to get this stuff right. They've got to show that it matters. I don't really get why it's in their interest to just kind of sit on it. Get to it when we get to it. It's only the schedule of the sport that gives us any hope of making money in a year.
Unbelievable. We missed a little tangentially related Billiken news. Alex Noakes, walk on from last year. He's playing for Lindenwood this coming season. We're unsure if he's a scholarship or a walk on.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like DMing him.
No, it's been kind of a trickle, right? On where everybody from that team has gone, and especially with the walk-ons. We found out about one of them, Evans, right? Lamont Evans is at McNeese State now, and we only found out about that because people were talking about, oh, how many SLU players are at Charleston and McNeese and just a few schools now. And we were like, oh, I thought there was just one at McNeese with Sincere Parker, but no, there was a walk-on too. So yeah, it's been really a trickle both in the player and staff categories from the Ford era. There's still a few left that we weren't sure about, but yeah, I just don't know, Zach. It's hard to keep track of.
I think it's super interesting to see how they land because, I mean, you look at the guys that went with Harry, like Chris Mack obviously sees something, or not Chris, yeah, Chris Mack obviously sees something in these guys. So obviously these players weren't complete, nothings.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we had a team that was a complete nothing. It's interesting.
I know. Yeah, and a lot of them, like even if I don't know if he's a walk-on or a scholarship player, but it was the same with Soderov.
We liked him. We saw his tape.
Yeah.
Was that the one? That was the one we saw.
Soderov is the one who's from the Chicago area and wound up at Northern Illinois.
Was that the tape we saw?
Yeah, I think that's the one you're thinking of, and I think he's a scholarship player there.
Yeah, as he should be.
Noakes isn't. He's a 6'8" kind of versatile player too. And is he a fringy, D1 end of the roster guy? Sure, but like you can kind of see something for him in the long term too. Yeah. So I will be curious to track these guys over the next 4 years.
Speaking of tracking, we've got of all the news on Jordan Goodwin. This is certainly one of those pieces of news. It's not good, not bad. It's just kind of news.
Yeah, and he signed a camp deal with the LA Lakers. But there's kind of an interesting follow-up to it. So I wasn't familiar with like what a camp deal necessarily means. West Pine Bills clarified to us that it's basically a tryout. He can't sign a two-way deal any longer, but the Lakers get first right of refusal on a deal. And then we find out a few days later that he was signed by the Lakers. But I think it's considered like I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs.
So like NBA it's for hockey fans out there, it would be like a PTO, a professional tryout.
Yeah, I think that's more or less what it is.
But he did get signed ish.
I think so. I think that there was, and I'm trying to find the follow up. I saw some kind of follow up, and I'm gonna have to revisit this, but I don't know, man.
Los Angeles Lakers sign Jordan Goodwin. They just signed him, I guess.
It just said, they signed him.
That was September 6th, a couple days ago.
Yeah, and the camp deal was on the 3rd.
Yeah.
So there was a press release on the 6th. Terms of the contract were not released, and then they kind of give his bio. So I don't know what all that means. I know he's still a long shot to make the roster, but he's still there. He's
on the spring training roster, at least.
That's right.
Dude, So we have a former Billiken doing YouTube. He is a YouTube nightmare. We have a Billiken who's doing OF. We'll leave it at OF.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we have a Billiken who may be entering the world of television acting.
Yeah, Zach, we got a message.
This is by far better than the other two.
It really is. It's easily the most respectable. But Hassan French might be appearing on Law and Order. Now, I'm assuming this is kind of extra work, right? Because he's
I
living
don't
back
know.
up in the New York area.
I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like every actor who has ever, become professional in any sense and
Yes.
is out of the New York area, they've done something on Law and Order.
Yes.
They've been a body. They've been in the background. They've been a juror. They've been if you're lucky, maybe you're a killer in one episode.
I need Hassan to be the guy that won't stop unloading boxes from a truck while being asked questions. That's the role I want him to play.
Yeah, an eyewitness who's too busy to actually stop and make eye contact with the detective.
If you have not listened to John Mulaney's Law and Order bit, do yourself a favor and go look that up because it is outstanding.
Yes.
So I borrowed that a little bit. I borrowed it. I repackaged it.
That's great.
But I know that would be amazing if I fire up Law and Order and be like, I knew that guy when he played basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be unbelievable.
It's like the time I saw remember the show Rescue 911?
Oh, that show more than most tortured me. That scared the living piss out of me, that show. So worse than Unsolved Mysteries gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
Rescue 911 scared me.
It scared me straight.
I have a vague memory. And again, I'm sorry, we're going to go on this tangent because talking about basketball constantly, I'm sure, whatever. I remember an episode of Rescue 911 where somebody got stuck in one of those like laundry chutes.
Yeah.
And my aunt had a laundry chute at her house.
Yeah.
I walked on the very other side of the hallway. I was like sliding up against the wall away from the wall. You're not going to get me. Not today, Satan.
No. Well, that's good too. I mean, you've always been you were a skinny kid. The laundry chute was not going to be it for you.
No, I was going straight through. I wasn't getting stuck. Yeah. It was going to be a fun ride, not a call to 911.
The one that I vividly remember watching as a kid was a garage door one. Like a kid got caught under a garage door.
Oh,
and it was just like torso on one side, legs on the other side of a garage door. I guess they made it in the end.
There had to be an escalator one, right?
I'm sure. I mean, there was one for everything.
Yes.
But the reason I bring that up, which was already a tangent, is because for whatever reason I was on like antenna, like digital antenna TV, regular TV one time. I'm sure we were watching a sporting event that had ended and flipping through and just seeing what even channels there were because it's something I do so rarely. And on one of those weird channels that was like, -3 or whatever, there was an episode of Rescue 911 on, and I was like, I haven't thought about this show in like 30 years. And Matthew McConaughey appeared on our screen, like unmistakably Matthew McConaughey. And my wife is like, is that Matthew McConaughey? And I'm like, immediately I knew it was him.
Is that Dean Cain?
Go to his IMDb page. And that was his very first acting credit was an episode of Rescue 911.
Oh, yeah.
So someday, Hassan French, when he's, world famous or something like that, it's going to be that Law and Order that you're watching at like 1 in the morning. And you're like, is that Hassan French?
It really is. Watching like Law and Order is less of an exercise of actual good TV and more of like, who can I see in this that's in other things?
Yeah.
Like watching old episodes. It's more fun for the who appeared in it. But give me all the terrible procedurals. Diagnosis Murder. Give me, oh, that was the best. Dick Van Dyke all day. women's basketball. Big time, big time, big time commitment for Rebecca Tillett and her staff. It's local and it's a big recruit, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, that's right. And so this one's from Alyssa Korkenmeyer, who is a 2025 player, a 6'6" center from St. Rose, Illinois, which is about an hour, about a half hour east of St. Louis. I think it's up kind of by like Highland, Illinois, Breese, Illinois, in that area. She goes to Mater Dei High School in Breese and plays AAU ball for Southern Illinois Hawks. She was named first team All-State in Illinois Class 2A last season, won a state championship as a sophomore in 2023, and had a triple double in the title game. Zach, she visited Iowa, Illinois, and Tennessee, and she actually got an offer from Tennessee when she visited there. I'm not sure who else offered or where else she visited. She doesn't post a lot of that kind of stuff. She's more inclined to post things about like her current team events. Um, and she also plays high school and club volleyball and led her high school to a state championship last season in volleyball. They're off to a strong start this year too, and just won a tournament last weekend at MICDS. So, uh, could we have a dual sport athlete possibly?
Pete, who was the last one to do it?
Oh, you just said in a text the other day, and I forgot. I'm going to disappoint you, Zach.
Sammy McLeod.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's obligatory. She's forever in the history books for that one.
She is, but this is a huge recruit. And look, I don't know if the Tennessee offer was still committable. I know there's been a recent coaching change there and everything, but like just the fact that these schools are actually recruiting her, like the top tier of women's programs. I mean, that's something. And I would love to have seen her full like kind of offer and interest list. It's honestly nowhere to be found. But this seems like a, as you say, very big get for Tillett in more ways than one. And that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Pete, I want to switch gears because I'm coming up to visit. And to be fair, I've never really been a pickle guy. But this, the pickling pot, you might end up convincing me to switch over from the salsa to the pickles, Pete.
I have 2 pouches going right now, Zach, as I said I would. I've got one where I've reused it. And so right now it's full of pickles, different cuts, because I always like to, experiment with different cuts in there. And this is one, it's a second use. And then I've got another one that I just put in a couple days ago, so it won't be ready for a couple more days. And it's a first use, right? So I'll even have a comparison for you, a side by side if necessary. The bad news on the salsa front, Zach, is I'm just about out.
I'm gonna have to stop by the store.
I've got like 2 or 3 ounces left, and it's probably gonna be cashed by the time that you roll into town this week. So I'm gonna have to head over to twomeningarden.com at some point soon and put in another order. But I'm just finishing up the order that our, Twitter followers voted for me. So just getting to the end of that one. The last one is a jar of Cantina style medium that I'm finishing up. But you should do the same. Head on over to twomeningarden.com, put in an order for yourself, and you won't be disappointed.
Pete, I got a lot to say about soccer. I think we both are gonna talk a lot about soccer. But I want to separate it from some unfortunate news that was actually mentioned on the broadcast today during the men's Brown Boot match at halftime by Bill McDermott.
Yeah, and I missed it at halftime, Zach, putting kids to bed and stuff like that. But it's the unfortunate news that we just found out through McDermott that SLU legend Steve Frank just passed away today. He was a member of the 1967 and 1969 national championship teams, and he's a member of the Billiken Hall of Fame. He played 6 years with the St. Louis Stars in the NASL and had, this is funny, Zach, 1 cap with the United States men's national team, and it was a 4-0 loss to Bermuda in March of 1973. It's such an unusual.
Yes.
That's the one game he ever played was the most CONCACAF game ever but of course it was 51 years ago. Just amazing.
It's like the guy who gets into a baseball game and doesn't get to hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But fortunately he was the honorary captain for the bronze boot match back in 2021 when it was actually at Herman that year. The other thing, Zach, that's kind of interesting about this, and I think is interesting about so many of our former soccer players, is he went on to a really kind of big time business career. Got a law degree from SLU and worked at a local firm. He was assistant general counsel at McDonnell Douglas in the 90s, and then Boeing after that. And then kind of was sort of a founding executive of a company called Plan Corp, which is a financial planning and advisory firm. He was a chairman for Bishop DeBerg High School where he went. He was on the SLU Board of Regents for a while. And like I said, he was in the SLU Hall of Fame, SLU Athletic Hall of Fame, and the SLU or the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame as well. Really impressive guy. And it got me to thinking, Zach, isn't it incredible when you look back at that sort of golden generation of St. Louis University soccer players who won like all those 10 national titles over a couple decades span, really within 2 decades. And then it seems like all of them went on to like massive success after that.
It's that BDE.
I if that's what you want to call it, I don't know what it is, but like these guys, it's just really impressive to me, everything that they've done with their lives. And the ones who I've had the good fortune of meeting over the years at SLU events and stuff have been like genuinely really nice people.
Yeah.
Everything you hear about Steve Frank was no exception to that. He was really a big deal soccer player and person in the community. And just I know his loss is going to be felt pretty big time by a lot of people. So sad news, but a life well lived and a lot to be proud of for sure.
Yep. That actually is what I think Bill McDermott said on the broadcast. A life well lived. Yeah.
I that's a complete accident. I seriously missed it. His eulogy.
Plagiarizer.
But it wouldn't be the first time I've been accused. But no,
Oh.
Bill obviously knows Steve very well, and I'm sure had a lot more to say than I ever could have.
The polls this week, obviously things are going to change quite a bit, quite drastically after we get done with this week. They were number 19, and then that's down from number 6, and then that's in United Soccer Coaches. Top Drawer Soccer, they're 8th, up actually from 9. But Monday the 2nd, Pete, they tied 1-1 at IUI, and I mean this or versus IUI at home. It's a result you got to have.
It absolutely is. It's one that we called, Zach, last week. We were like, well, this is their get right game, right?
Yeah.
Like after that SMU game, we were like, this is the get right game is I think exactly what you called it. And after a first half that went scoreless, IUI scored on a header off a cross in the 62nd minute, which was exactly the kind of play SLU was getting over and over at the other end, but just not finishing. It was really frustrating to watch in that sense. Max Floriani hit the post in the 82nd minute on a scrum in front of the net that started with a corner kick, and the play ended in an offsides call. SLU wound up with the ball after the ensuing goal kick. Seth Anderson got it over to Luis Lara. He almost had it taken away, but managed to kind of force it by the keeper and off the last defender to level the score at 1. It took that mad scramble, Zach, just to tie this game. I have a lot of thoughts about this game and the next one and how they're playing, but just at a high level, you're right. This result, it's just kind of unacceptable for how much talent they've got on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, we sat here and we blamed Travis Ford for 2 years now about, wasting talent. And I mean, obviously there is a very, very big difference in Kevin Kalish's time here at SLU versus Travis Ford. But again, you cannot be losing games like one to a directional school that just changed their name to be more relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just I there's so like everything just seems disjointed. I mean, they're taking shots, they're getting some on goal, but it's what, one out of three is on goal. Everything
Mhm.
just seems to be disconnected. There's a million person going one way, the passes go in the other way. People are kind of running into each other. It just does not seem like the spacing's there. Again, I know enough about soccer to be dangerous, but like I'm just, you know, it's kind of not. You can tell it's bad because it's kind of nauseating to watch. We talked about it with the women's game uh, against Mizzou the first half.
Yeah.
It's that same stuff, and it's happening constantly with these Billikens.
Yeah, it's not that like you see the talent, you see the ideas and everything. It's just they just don't seem to be on the same page. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
communication or what. And it's so weird coming off of that season opener against Indiana, where all of those things did seem to be clicking and they looked a
yeah,
lot more fluid and on the same page. But now we're just right back into last year where we thought we were going to be a lot better than we actually wound up being. So it's just it's a really strange feeling. And yeah, so we did outshoot IUI 19-7. Shots on goal 6-1. That's a pretty brutal stat when you know what happened with
yes,
IUI's one shot on goal. Corners 11-3. Fouls were pretty much even. SLU had 13, IUI 12. But it just wasn't pretty stuff, Zach. SLU dominated possession, and IUI was just kind of willing to do anything to slow them down. At times that meant taking yellow cards to slow the attack. They would stuff 9 or 10 guys in the box, just anything to clog lanes and frustrate SLU. And we'll get to it, but I think SIUE studied that game tape pretty hard
yeah,
because they did a lot of the same stuff in this game. SLU was able to create a lot of good opportunities, but they just couldn't string enough touches together, passes together to to get anything going in the attacking third. Um, it really is
and
baffling to watch this after that Indiana game to me.
yeah, it's insane. You can't tie IUI after you beat IU. That just doesn't compute, right?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, we crushed Mizzou, but had no answer for SEMO. You know,
Yeah,
like the equivalent in any state makes no sense.
it's just like it's the again, it's the miscommunication. The district. I don't even know. Like, I don't know. It's my problem. It's like they're passing. There's so much miscommunication on the field, and they just continue to try to pass it into the back of the net. And it's like at some point, dude, it's college soccer. You do not need to play like Barcelona. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to pass the ball and you don't need to be Gallagher out there. Like toss the ball into the mixer and let shit get weird.
Hmm.
I just don't I don't understand playing short on corners in college. Yes, you can play fancy, you can have beautiful, you know, possession and build up, but like if you're struggling, toss the ball in there, see what happens, shoot the
Hmm.
ball. Like they're not like we're gonna talk about this bronze boot game, but so many times in it, it was just one too many passes. And
Right.
I don't know. It's it's not that complicated sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that actually might be a pretty good place to transition into this next game, the Bronze Boot, because it really felt like more of the same, Zach.
Yeah.
And this one at City Park, a big showcase game with a ton of history, a lot more eyes on it on Sunday the 8th,
Eh,
ended in a 1-0 loss for SLU.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the tone was set from the by the athletic department from the minute you walk into that stadium, and SIUE's got shirts for sale, hats for sale, merchandise for sale. They've got face painting. They've got bags boards set up, cornhole set up. They've got their student section information, like the student season ticket information.
Yeah.
They've got like a big thing where you can take your picture in front of it. Like the media thing behind, like the background, the media background. They have like that.
Hmm.
They have all this stuff, and there's nothing on the Billiken side of things. If you do not take it seriously off the field, why is anybody going to take it seriously on the field or in the stands?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Now, I will back up a little bit and just say, leading up to this match, I think we did see a little more social media presence, a little more than last year, a little more,
A
right?
little more. I mean,
And so
I
it
would say
made
not enough, not nearly enough. I forgot about this game. I forgot it was happening today.
Mhm.
I remembered late last night
So there
or
was
this
more.
morning. I remembered this morning.
There was more. They even had the video with Simon Betcher and Johnny Klein,
Yeah.
at the City player. So that was cool. So there was a little bit more on the lead up. Not a ton. I agree that it was probably not quite enough, but it made me think like, okay, at least because last year was like silent before this
Yeah.
game. And then it made me think like, okay, at least there's someone thinking about this, someone on top of it. But then if you go to the game, the concourse, and everything is set up for SIUE to make it feel like a home game for them. I do think there's a disconnect there. There's
Yeah.
a missed opportunity.
The,
It's a neutral game, and it should feel like that. And both schools should have some kind of official presence there
yeah.
in a way that SLU didn't last year when I was in the house, and apparently they didn't do it again.
And of course, they did have the drum line. I don't want to take anything away from the cheer squad, the dance squad, the drum line. They were there. It was great. But that's not enough. You have got to welcome your fans
Yeah.
to the stadium. You have got there's no reason that every SLU athletics staffer, first of all, there were no SLU game day staffers at all. None.
Yeah.
There was, the cheer coach, the dance coach, the drum line, the band that was there. There was no staffers like manning any table. Again, this is the same thing that happened last year. SIUE marketing came in and punked SLU on that concourse. It was their home game.
Yeah.
And this year, I would say they learned their lesson, but there was no lesson to be learned because everybody was hiding. There was no senior level staffer on the concourse.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one today. They were all up in a box. You can't see what the other team, you have to know what your local competition is doing.
Yeah. And it also seems like, SLU is literally just down the street from this place. I mean, it's a long walk.
I feel like they take that as we don't need to do anything because it's so close, because it's right in our backyard.
Yeah.
I feel like walk. That's
it's kind of, they're closer than our basketball home games were when I went there.
Yeah.
And I know it can be done to create a home environment in a place that isn't actually your home. It's not even what we're asking for. No. It's just like to have just show up in some official capacity.
Yeah. They were there. They just were, but my point is, you have so many people that come into that game wearing City gear. Just City gear, not SLU gear, not SIUE gear, just City gear. Those people are clearly into City and into soccer. Why are you not trying to put your merchandise in front of them? Why are you not trying to put your season ticket information in front of them? These are all potential customers.
Yeah, they're gettable.
It is mind-boggling. What, just take the $20 plus $8 in fee? Hey, job well done.
Yeah.
Dude, come on. It's not that hard. I will say the Billiken was there by halftime of the women's game, and I didn't see the Cougar.
That's good.
So Billiken did a great job. I don't know.
So let's address the broadcast for the men's game.
Yeah. I didn't see the women's game. Did you see the women's game?
I watched most of the
was it the same?
Let me put it this way. I watched the whole first half. I missed the chunk of the second half where they scored most of their goals. And then I watched about 70%, 75% of the game. But no, it was they had more camera angles, but they didn't get quite as
okay. Because my issue was it was the scoreboard feed. If you've watched, you remember watching again, I don't want to, I'm complaining already, but I want to be clear that this is a city issue. This is St. Louis City Park issue. I think anyway. It was streaming the video board feed. That's the kind of stuff you would see in 2015 from LaSalle.
Yeah.
Where you have no main hard camera that gives you a macro view. You have camera 2, which is trained on the ball, with a tighter window on the ball. And then and no camera 1. So no grand view of the field. So at no point during the broadcast did you get an idea of what was going on around the ball. It was completely disorienting made it very difficult to watch the men's game.
And now that you mention it, it was that was the case too in the women's game. I still think it was worse in the men's game. The
ball moves a little faster.
The thing that was throwing me off more is that they kept cutting to, and this was true in the women's game too. The camera would cut to fans and other stuff going on. Like Gaby's first goal, the one that made it 1-0 in the first half, was just they didn't catch it live. Like you only caught one replay of it because they were talking about, they were in the stands and like talking about something else. Or I think that one they were actually showing the tail of a replay of something before. And so you actually missed the live goal, and that was bothering me more than some of the weird camera.
I mean, all of it gathered together. It's pro indoor soccer level nonsense. Like it's the kind of thing you get. It's the kind of thing you would get on an exhibition game where they don't even try. They're just like, you know what? But it works better for basketball because there is no like that is you. They just like that's. It's they don't. It's fine. It works for basketball, but it doesn't work for soccer.
I will say in terms of announcers, we had McDermott doing color commentary with Betlock, and then we had SIUE's guy. And the way that they did it, Zach, I thought they actually did a pretty nice job. These guys, because when SLU would go on the attack, our announcer would take it. When SIUE had the ball, their announcer would take it, and they did a pretty good job of kind of shifting seamlessly in between. And then McDermott in between was talking about
whatever he was talking
Harry
about,
Keogh and all kinds of the history he had.
He played in the first edition. He doesn't want you to know this. This is a fact that Bill McDermott wants you to forget. He played in the first edition of the Bronze Boot.
Amazing.
He doesn't want you to know that. Let's get down to brass tacks. By the way, I want to just again be clear, the St. Louis City issue, I don't believe it to be a SLU issue. I don't believe that they would have been able to do anything in the moment to adjust that. I think that's just how City decided they were going to do it, and that is that. Again, this game was another just unacceptable loss, I think, Pete.
Yeah, it was. Like you said, it was a slow start for them. The Cougars were kind of able to assert their style of play at first, but then over the course of the first half, it kind of evened out. I think SLU led 6-3 in shots, but they were behind, I think, 4-1 in corners at halftime. And then in the 63rd minute, Zach, like I guess the foul happened in the 62nd minute, goal in the 63rd. Yasha Scherer converted the penalty kick after Carlos Leatherman was issued a yellow card for taking down an SIUE player in the box kind of near the end line. It wasn't a hard foul, but he did kind of get his arm extended after they kind of tangled up a little bit. I know you're shaking your head right now.
Can't do that. Can't do it.
I saw people on Billikens.com saying it shouldn't have been a foul. To me, it was. I mean, it was stupid.
It shouldn't be a foul because he shouldn't have fouled him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. That's the problem is he didn't need to do that.
Well, I sit here and I think about that. I don't know if you caught the City game and the review of a handball in the box. This is more of a penalty than what New England thought that penalty should have been on.
Correct.
You cannot, like, he's going out of bounds. It's the play's going to be over.
Yep.
Why?
There was no need to make any contact.
For what reason?
Yeah. It was just dumb. And I, as mad as they want to get about it or whatever,
Yeah.
and stupidly enough, Doherty got a yellow card right after that for chirping at the ref. And it was like, that's not the that's not the hill to die on, man. Like
Yeah,
that's
no, it's not.
not worth it at all. I mean, you already just got a stupid yellow for a foul that didn't need to happen. They convert a PK, and you're gonna be yelling at the ref as he's lining it up. Just not worth it. None of it was
It,
worth it.
it's just incredibly frustrating because this team feels so disorganized, so um and then you have the players that are upset over, like I don't know. It's frustrating. Again, it's so many. There were so many opportunities today for SLU to make a push towards goal, and they would just miscommunication. One guy going one way, one guy. I mean, there was at least 5 to 10 instances of just passing one way when the guy goes the other way. And then not to mention the amount of times that SLU tried again, once again, to make the perfect pass, to make the last pass when, I mean, by God, just shoot it. You haven't scored against SIUE now in 180 minutes.
Something I appreciate. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So about the women's team is a lot of the complaints that you've got and that you've outlined so far about how the men's team is playing right now. They seem to understand that, right? Like an ugly goal is worth more than a pretty miss.
Yes.
And that's always going to be true. And just take your ugly goals where they are. We did have a fantastic chance with about 15 minutes to go. Seth Anderson and Matthew Roble, kind of a little give and go action on the counter. Roble's shot went wide of the far post. They also had a player kind of charging down that side. So he either had to put it on frame or complete that pass, and the ball just kind of went in between. Worst of both worlds. He had Roble had a nice header off a Sellers cross with just over 3 minutes to play. SIUE's keeper was there. He got up for it. He just had to go straight up, but it was pretty well placed. Could have been a goal. Brogan Townsend flighted one last dangerous ball into the box in the closing seconds, but we couldn't get a shot off of it. Zach, I don't disagree at all. It's like they want the lead up to everything to be perfect so that the goal's perfect. And it just doesn't have to be that way. And SIUE did a lot of the same things IUI did to get into passing lanes and frustrate them. And it felt like everything that they were trying to finish in the box was deflected or blocked.
Yeah, it feels like the issue on the men's side is a bit different than when the women's have their disjointed issue. On the women's side, it feels like they're almost pressing too quickly. They want to get out and move. They're trying to get into transition way too quickly. Whereas the men seem to be more on the careless side of things. Yeah. And they may go too slow sometimes too. So it's just very interesting, and I something's gotta give here. These are results that obviously are unacceptable for a team with 10 national championships, a program of such high stature. And again, you get punked on the field and you get punked on the concourse. So I don't know.
Yeah, the shots in this one, Zach, SLU had 13, SIUE 4. Shots on goal were 4-2. Corner kicks, SIUE ended up with 5 and SLU just 3. Fouls, SIUE did have 4 more. It was 16-12. Hard to believe SLU only had 4 fouls in the second half, but I guess they were pretty desperately trying to, push things.
Watching this game, it really reminded me of kind of it didn't remind me of because it just happened. I watched the US game against Canada, and they talked about how they knew the whoever the dumbass interim head coach is. He's terrible. I don't know. But they talked about how he knew about Canada's pressing style, and he knew there were going to be some mistakes, playing the ball out. But, that it's at the expense of playing how he wants to play. No, like that's what this reminded me of. Like, it's not working. Like, try something. Like, you don't just accept that there's going to be mistakes. You find ways to kind of work around those mistakes.
Yeah,
or avoid those mistakes. I don't know.
Mikey Varas is his name, but it's the other thing that's been so hard to watch in these games, like these two in particular, is from start to finish, there's no question who the better team is supposed
Yes.
to be. Like you can see the talent, you can see the things that they do, you can see the pace, and they're just scrambling to try and invent their way around just a a defense that's just going to lay in the road and try and do anything to stop the ball. It's really hard to watch this many good players get frustrated and not be able to be creative enough
Yeah.
to get to solve for this problem, right? It was the same story for 90 minutes in both games. It just felt like SLU was desperately trying anything they could, and SIUE and IUI were content to just play ugly, pack it in, counter, soccer. There was nothing complicated about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch a team that good be so flummoxed by something that seems pretty basic.
Yeah, I feel like we're missing that guy that's just gonna kind of run at the D edge, just go and try to get a goal.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know enough about I just don't know. It's hard the macro level. Like I understand like it's the super intricacies that just I don't they so it's hard for me to figure out exactly what they're actually screwing up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. Um, yeah, I don't really know where else to go with this. I'd rather just kind of talk about women's soccer at this point.
Yeah, we can move on. The next test for the men, Zach, on Friday the 13th, they are up at the University of Portland. Portland is
Like
two
we
and
need a
two.
Friday at the 13th game for this team.
Portland can be a creepy town in the fall. I've been up there in the fall before, and it can be a little rainy and gray and spooky. And here we're going to be on Friday the 13th. They do have a 2-1 win over Washington to open the season. They've got a lower division win at home as well. They just lost to Cal State Bakersfield, and they did also lose down at number 10 UCLA at the end of August. So mixed results there, but if they beat Washington, even if Washington's down a little bit, they can beat a SLU team that's kind of flailing right now. So I would love for this to be a bounce back game, but that's a long road trip.
Yeah, yep. They got to win this one. They have
Yep,
to.
they do.
Um, on the women's side, the Billikens got a new commitment. 2026 player Kira Barthol. Is it Bartholay or Bartholet?
I was thinking Bartholay, but
All right,
I
let's
don't
go
know. I
Bartholay.
don't know.
Kira Bartholay, forward from Narings Hall and St. Louis Scott Gallagher. She's a teammate with fellow 26 commit Lucy Marsh. Narings Hall won the Missouri Class 4 state title in the spring. Uh, rankings this week, Pete.
Yeah, the United Soccer Coaches had SLU at number 19, just like last week. And then Top Drawer Soccer, they did drop down to 23 from 15, Zach, which isn't entirely surprising. You and I both wondered if they would drop out of the rankings altogether, which they did not. But I wonder if, you never know what'll happen based on this week's results.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are gonna be not great at recapping the Creighton game, and thank God we're gonna both be at the Xavier game because that one would also be on Flow Sports.
Ugh.
Pete,
Terrible, terrible. But yeah, the fact that this Creighton game was on Flow Sports mean that we didn't see it live, and it was a
correct.
0-0 tie at Creighton.
So it technically just never happened.
It never happened. No, it was on Friday the 6th though, and a bit of a surprising result, Zach, because I don't know, I just kind of took for granted that SLU was the better team here, with Creighton being they've got a first year coach, right?
Yeah, this is a Creighton team that was coming off a 5-2 loss at Nebraska. They do have a 2-1 win against Iowa State. But again, I think it's a game that you absolutely have to go and win. Now it was Socktoberfest out there at Creighton, so perhaps there was a bit of a rowdy crowd. I don't know. But yeah, it's one you wanted to have.
For sure. SLU outshot Creighton 11-8. Shots on goal were 5-3. Corners were 6-5. And then each team had 17 fouls. Emily Gaby, unsurprisingly, had 4 of SLU's 11 shots and 3 of the 5 that were on goal. Hannah Larson had 3 shots. It was the 43rd career shutout for Emily Percelli and her 3rd of the season. But Zach, what was kind of weird about this game, 8 yellow cards. I mean, we already said 34 total fouls, 4 yellow cards on each team, and 3 of SLU's came after the 83rd minute, which on paper is a clear sign of frustration setting in. But did you ever figure out what the story was here? Was there some kind of meltdown or incident or anything like that, or was it just getting chippy at the end?
I got nothing on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see in a game like this where, you expect to win, you're on the road, you're frustrated. I know they had a crazy travel schedule before and after this game. You can kind of understand them being a little chippy, but 3 after the 83rd minute is kind of tough.
Yeah, it's tough, Pete. I again 0-0 Creighton. Creighton is not the not what their men's counterpart are on the women's side. So, I mean, and they played an unbelievable stadium.
They do.
That Creighton stadium is fantastic. So I mean, again, I don't know what happened. Obviously we didn't, get the video, but it appears that at some point during her 16 minutes in the Penn State match, Hannah Sawyer was injured.
Yeah. So, do we know what the injury is? Or
Okay. I think she got tangled up. Maybe, I don't know if it's maybe a head injury. I'm really not sure, but I know she did not play against Creighton. She did play against Penn State. So
yeah, and then she didn't play in this SIUE game.
Correct. She did not. And that game, great transition, Pete, was a 6-1 win for the Billikens at CITYPARK against SIUE, preceding the men's game on Sunday the 8th. This one kicked off at 3:30 p.m. I think the only way I can really start off this discussion is just by reminding everybody that it is Emily Gaby's world, and we are just visiting.
Yeah, I mean, she was unbelievable in this game.
She opened the scoring in this one, of course, basically just put a body on a 14th minute corner kick from Izzy Lubert to force it in. Kind of looked like it went off her collarbone. She didn't really get great contact. She did get the second goal of the game in the 58th minute. It was assisted by Katie Hauk and Hannah Larson. Gaby still had to do a lot of work after she got it. She took on 2 SIUE defenders all alone. And the keeper, by the way, in the process of scoring that goal. She was, however, robbed of a hat trick, Pete, not by an SIUE player, mind you, no, but by the linesman who inexplicably whistled her offside when she was being held on by SIUE's number 6. I know that because I exclaimed verbally, how was she onside? How was she offside? She was onside by a mile. And then a gentleman to the left of me said, number 6 was holding her on back there. And everybody was like, yes, that's true.
And we know that stadium is equipped with VAR.
Yes, why don't we have VAR?
We gotta use it.
No, you know what? They were doing a shot of the crowd. They would have missed it.
Right. I mean, her first goal, the one that looked like it bounced in off her collarbone, was the one that they missed completely because of that. So
Julia Simon scored SLU's 3rd goal in the 60th minute. This one was wild, by the way. This was a real, it was very simple, but it was a very weird goal, Pete. Gaby crosses it in. Oh, wait, no, this was the next one. Sorry. Julia Simon scored the 3rd goal in the 60th minute, and that was assisted by Emily Gaby. SIUE got one back 5 minutes later, and then one of the weirdest goals I've ever seen. Riley Howard sends a lob cross. Looked like she might have been going for goal, catching the keeper a little bit out. It hits the bottom of the crossbar, and Larson could not have been in more perfect position for this one.
Yeah, it just like I had to watch the replay a couple times because I wasn't sure if the keeper touched it or what happened, but it really did just hit the bottom of the crossbar and go right down to Hannah Larson's foot. I mean, like
it was a volley. It wasn't a half volley. It didn't hit the ground, which is insane. That's such a quick, especially when something glances off the post, it moves exponentially. I feel like, but it was an incredible display of hand-eye coordination, and it was one of those goals where you go, "Oh, okay, sure, why not?"
Yeah, and it happened so fast too. It really is. When they I was glad when they finally put because they didn't do it for all of their goals, but I think 4 of them they put it on their Twitter feed. And this is one that I had to watch like 4 times in a row just to make sure I understood what happened because it happened so fast. But the next goal, Zach, was a first career goal for Emily Fox. This one came in the 69th minute off a Hannah Larson assist. So we've got another one.
We've got 2 first career goals here because Lucy Schwartz got her first career goal in the 84th minute. Fox played in a nice ball to the box. Isa Moreno crossed it to Audrey Smith, whose shot was blocked. But fortunately, it landed right on the foot of Lucy Schwartz, who buried it in the net. By the way, it was really noticeable at this game how many families were buying the NIL merchandise.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So a lot of, I mean, you remember back when Jordair Jet was, his family would always go to games wearing Jet on the back. So now it's just a little bit more official and kind of goes back to the athlete. So it's nice.
Yeah, very cool. By the way, I do want to say, like, Emily Fox, I liked her. She put a dangerous ball in to make this whole play happen. And she did this kind of like fake out where she kind of looked and shimmied both ways before she let go of the ball. And it left the defenders with
that's that old man skill. That's that old head skill. Yeah.
Right. It really was. And it just took that little bit of motion to keep the defenders from closing that gap. And then she just sent the ball right through the gap. And this whole play happened because of that. So the freshmen have all kind of shown things like that, Zach. They've made individual plays. Sarah Sarnowski, again, in this game, did a couple things like that where you kind of raise your eyebrow and go, okay, all right, I kind of see what they can do here. So,
yeah, it's good to see. And I saw, they put in, they even subbed in the backup goalkeeper, which, I mean, that is, there's nothing you can do better if you have recruits in the audience, getting your subs into a game, it's a special game, being at, City Park. You don't often get to step on that field, and giving Nimu Karani a chance as a freshman to hop in there and at least get her picture taken on the field. That's when you tell the photographer, make sure you get everybody a picture.
Yeah, no kidding. And she played over 18 minutes. So
and she did really well. Kept a clean sheet.
So, stats on this one, Zach. Shots were 19 for SLU, 7 for SIUE. Shots on goal 9-4, corners 8-2, and then fouls. SLU had 8, SIUE 6. So pretty clean game.
I think Walterman played in this game last year too.
I believe you're right.
Yes.
Yep.
So Becca Walterman got it last year. She's now a junior, and the freshman got the opportunity this time.
Yeah, and Walterman, it's going to be tough, but hopefully we can hang 6 on Xavier, right, and get the backup in there because I think she's actually from the Cincinnati area.
Oh, there we go. I like where your head's at, Pete.
Got to be optimistic.
Next up, we are going to be in attendance along with your U10 team and their families at Xavier on Thursday the 12th, and of course, Carter Chapley is supposed to make an appearance as well.
It's going to be great, Zach. I'm looking forward to it. Xavier is
There's no way you're looking forward to me staying at your house all week.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Oh, yeah. No, okay, just checking.
Xavier, the games are free admission. They're soccer games. free parking, everything like that. So it was an easy sell to the parents on my team. And the way that they're set up is it's like the lowest point on campus where like the rec center and the soccer field and baseball field and stuff are. The lowest point of the neighborhood, really. Like the streets go up in all four
Reminds
directions.
me of Lindenwood, kind of.
So the bleachers are just, it's like a small set of bleachers on a hillside and then a big open hill. So I imagine my team will sit in their seats for about the first minute of play and then just go play on the hill
Yeah.
until their parents they're probably all going to leave halftime, early second half, and have to go back to start their bedtime routines because it is a school night. But we will be there. We will be hopefully making some noise. I don't know if
Yep.
they're all going to root for SLU. They're Cincinnati-born kids, most of them.
Can't promise it.
You and I will, though, and
Yes.
Carter too.
Yes. Very excited it'll be the first road game I've seen. First SLU road game in any sport since the NIT.
Okay.
Against Mississippi State.
Really?
Well, that's a neutral site game, so it doesn't count. It's been a long time since I've hit up a road game. I haven't done it. I've done it in a long time.
I've got the Dayton game every year, so
yeah. Volleyball teased a 2026 commitment. We do not have any idea who that is. So we'll leave it at that. The Billiken Invitational, the Billikens came away 2-1 in this one. First they won 3-0 against Army. I'm still in soccer mode. Thursday the 5th, 25-16, 25-18, 25-21. Delaney Rice and Trinity Luckett had 10 kills each. Luckett's attack percentage was outstanding at .471. She had 8 blocks, not a surprise. The Billikens outblocked Army 13-2 in this one. Abby Lynn had 27 assists. Carly Rogers had 17 digs. SLU held Army to an attack percentage of just .055. Anytime you can beat a team that challenged for a conference tournament or a conference title, as Army did in the Patriot League, I don't care. You beat them 3-0. That's good enough for me. I think there's not much more you can do there. Then the next game, I mean, man, I saw this one and I'll let you get into it, but man, this was all about the unforced errors in this one, Pete.
Yeah, and that comes across in the box score as well.
By the way, this is also my fault. This game is my fault. This loss. I accidentally wore navy blue because I was doing something else and didn't want to wear a Billiken shirt to that thing.
Yeah.
And was actually wearing navy blue and ended up for the last couple sets. I ended up back at that game for the last couple sets. And that was my fault because I wore Xavier colors.
Well, I expect a public apology.
I've already apologized privately to the appropriate parties.
Okay. All right, good. So 3-1 was the loss to Xavier on Friday the 6th, 22-25, 25-18, 23-25, 23-25, pretty close, but you're right, Zach, it's a tough one. Xavier's off to a bad start this season. They lost to Illinois State earlier in the day. Addie Bruce did lead the Bills with 18 kills. Trinity Luckett had 8 blocks. She was on fire for part of this match, too. Carly Rogers had 23 digs. Abby Lynn, 46 assists. SLU was really better than Xavier in just about every statistical category. But you're right, Zach. They just had more errors, service errors, attack errors. It's the kind of loss that haunts you in your season.
Yeah, it really was a story of 2 different lineups at the net, especially. I really do feel like this team's service reception is just really not good. But it was a matter of the lineups at the net. When you had Taya Kolajic, you had Addie Bruce, you had Trinity Luckett, Delaney Rice, any of those 4. And Addie Bruce actually plays in the back row as of right now. But so when you have that Taya Kolajic, Trinity Luckett, and Delaney Rice net presence, that's when you saw the Billikens really imposing their will on Xavier. That was
Yeah.
when you saw us take leads. And then you had a separate lineup that just, it seemed to be the time that Xavier would, uh, kind of create space on that scoreboard. And
Yeah.
the Billikens just couldn't end up making it up. But they did recover on Saturday the 7th against Illinois State with a 3-1 win, 25-23, 25-18, 16-25, and 25-19. The Billikens posted 315 attack or 0.350. I have no idea how to say that. I hate
315.
that. 315. I hate it like we talk about in track and field. I hate the way they do the numbers. 315 attack percentage, and outblocked ISU 10-3. Bruce led SLU with 16 kills. Lynn had 22 assists. Kayla Jansen had 6 blocks. She was decidedly better in this one. Rogers 12 digs. The Billikens and Illinois State both went 2-1 in the event, and Xavier and Army went 1-2. That's an odd way of having things fall.
It's really weird, especially when, like I don't know. It's just like, I guess SLU technically won, based on the head to head.
They won because they hosted it.
Right. But I mean, they both go 2-1, right? And they win the head to head, but it's weird to have lost to Xavier because they lost to both Army and Illinois State. It just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know what's going on with Xavier. It's kind of bizarre. Billikens moved to 3-3 on the season. Next up will be the Mary Jo Wynn Invitational at Missouri State on Thursday the 12th through Saturday the 14th in Springfield. Neither of us will be in attendance for that one, clearly. Field hockey, none of us were in attendance for Ball State Sunday the 8th because it was rescheduled for Wednesday the 11th. Next up, they will play at Ohio on Sunday the 15th. We will not be there. That would take, if this game, like I told you, if it was on the western side of the state, I'd be there.
Yeah.
But I am not going 2.5 hours east.
Yeah.
To then go 8 hours back.
Yeah. Ohio is in Athens. It's a great town. I love it. I never need an
I love Greece.
If I have any excuse to go to Athens, Ohio, I'll take it. And this, if I didn't have kids and responsibilities and blah, 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 I would happily do it.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's completely in the wrong direction for you. So it's just not going to happen.
Baseball. Let's talk about the finalized roster and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah. One new name, Zach. They did make the 7 signings official that, it's kind of their second wave for the incoming class. And that's Kamehu Sanchez, a junior catcher from Nanakuli, Hawaii. He's transferring from Johnson University in Tennessee. He played his freshman year at Graceland University, where he was an all-conference player. I think that's where Carter Chapley went, by the way. Sounds like he's a depth player for now, and Hendo said he came highly recommended due to his experience. But I think the rest of these we've covered already, Zach. Max McGuire, junior first base transfer out from San Diego, who started out at Oklahoma. Obviously, he's Mark McGuire's son. Preston Salazar, we talked about. He's a junior right-handed pitcher from Lindenwood, started out at St. Louis Community College, and he's from Kirkwood. Aman Khan is the freshman right-handed pitcher from Lane Tech in Chicago. He's the one who pitched for Pakistan in the World Baseball Classic back in 2022 when he was just 16. Kobe Allen, senior right-hander from Westminster College. Richie Chimprich, I don't know how to do the C's on this one. Senior right-hander, transfer from Seton Hall, who started out at Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida. And then Carter Kelsey's the redshirt junior, another right-handed pitcher, and another transfer from Seton Hall. So that rounds out the class, Zach, of incoming baseball players.
I got to throw in this Aman Khan blurb from Baseball Reference. At age 16, the high schooler joined Pakistan for the 2022 World Baseball Classic qualifiers. He did not get relegated to the back of the bullpen either. In his outing, he relieved former minor leaguer Omar Arif with a 3-2 deficit against Argentina in the 4th. 2 outs and the bases loaded. He escaped that jam by striking out former minor leaguer Jacinto Cipriata. In the 5th, he retired Julian Pedroso and walked Matthias Robles and got Lucas Nakandaskar to hit into a double play. Things fell apart in the sixth. Andres Kim singled. Sebastian Garcia reached out an error. Augustin Teixeira singled, and an error on the play helped 2 runs score. As Ezekiel Televi tripled in another, and Eduardo Zerbriggen singled to make it 7-2. After Cypriot singled, Muhammad Asiam replaced Khan. He had Pakistan's second worst rec ERA in the event, behind Canadians Adam Khan, funny enough, his sixth, undoing his fine work before that. I don't know. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah. What an experience for a 16-year-old.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening again. I cannot wait for basketball season to get here. Basketball season, please get here. Please get here soon.
It is officially less than 2 months away, Zach.
September and we don't 8th. Have a conference schedule.
We do. It's going to be, apparently it's going to be a little bit longer. But we at least know that we're going to be playing in late October, some exhibition games, and then we're going to see this season officially start on November 4th. So we know that much, at least, even if we don't know what the schedule from New Year's on looks like.
Well, go Bills.
Go Bills.